Well, this is a big week coming up, weekend, and next week. I mean, you know, it seems like to me that so many people are just hesitant in doing anything because they're just waiting to see
if it's going to happen.
if it's really going to happen. Yeah, and with the two assassination attempts on President Trump, and with all the legal things that they threw at him, you just go, okay, is this really going to happen? Is he going to be inaugurated? Is he going to be sworn in? Is he going to start day one with all the things that we're hoping that happens? Personally, I think it's going to happen, and I feel very confident. And I don't know how you feel. Are you a little nervous or?
I'm very nervous.
Very nervous.
Very excited. And I'm glued to the TV.
And combined with all that is all the unrest, in the Middle East with the hostage situation and the negotiations, which Trump had virtually everything to do with. We still have Ukraine, but now we have these fires. We were actually in LA when the fires broke out.
Oh, really? Wow.
We were there. We were in Newport. And then we moved locations to Anaheim to do the Disney thing with one of our sons and his family. His wife actually is the Disney
planner.
Crazy. They have everything on their phone, and they just boom, 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 boom. It was amazing.
It was fabulous.
And I hadn't been there for a long time, and we all have issues with Disney and all that kind of stuff, but it was so awesome to see families. But in Anaheim, you wouldn't even have known the fires were going on unless you watched the news. That's how crazy this is. Because those Santa Ana winds were sending the smoke and everything out to the West Sea, out to the Pacific, because all the fires were just a little bit north and west of Anaheim. So it just like people were just having fun doing everything while whole communities are being burnt down, And the similarities between the Maui and this, we have two of the, so it was, what was the town?
Paradise.
In Maui. Well, first in Maui.
Lahaina.
Lahaina. Thank you. So Lahaina was considered some of the most expensive real estate in the whole world. Gone. Now it's this area of California was the second. It's just there's just so many similarities and interesting things. So you have all these combination of things happening, and this is all going to culminate in a few days, and you guys are there. You guys are there. So
we're here and we're walking down the streets and last night, and there's like nobody on the streets. I mean, it's like you're in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a little bit snowy, but it was just kind of eerily quiet.
We're just
an inauguration.
We're just like half a block from all of the fenced area, and right in the middle of Washington, D.C. See, the Capitol as clear as a bell right outside the front door.
Just right there.
And the restaurants weren't crowded. I'm sure today it'll be more crowded, but it was eerily empty. It was really interesting.
And what's interesting about this recording right now is that obviously I don't know when this is going to launch, but here we are Friday before the Monday inauguration, right? So, I mean, it's like empty streets out there. We don't know if they've just cleared it for security purposes. We didn't get hassled or anything. So it's really interesting. So when this recording hits and your viewers watch this, we may sound like, this is a bunch of crazy talk, or it was prophetic, right?
Exactly.
And we're vaporized into the next life.
Our listeners know you've been on many times, but why don't you introduce Jason to us? Sure. I know Jason, we've watched him, we were fans of Jason, and just kind of a quick introduction, and then Jason, you can fill in. But let's do that, and
Great.
then we'll go on.
Well, 46 years ago, Jason came on Earth as my oldest child, and you met him 5 years later as a 5-year-old, at Jeremy Ranch as he grew up there, and grew up there until end of junior high, and then we moved to Sandy, the Salt Lake area, where he ended up becoming started the Waterford famous quartet at the Waterford School, of student body president, had an all-state basketball career there, had a great time, went on a mission to Brazil, came home. I had big plans for him to join me in the insurance business, and found him downstairs imitating the Disney characters. And one day he broke the news to me and said, "Hey, I want to make people laugh and entertain people. I don't want to sell insurance." And so I said, "Okay, I guess that's fine. I'm not sure what you're going to do besides dance like Michael Jackson and make Disney noises and then singing." But we ended up getting him an audition with Legends in Concert in Las Vegas, and they hired him on the spot to be a Ricky Martin impersonator, a Latino lover. And then, so he joined Legends, probably the youngest person they ever had. And then within a few months, they said, "We need Elton John as well. Can you give that a try?" So he worked on Elton John, and pretty soon he was in Myrtle Beach and South Carolina, and then also to Philadelphia. He was doing two different characters in the same show, which was ironic, and did really well for a couple of years, and then decided that it was pretty limiting what they were having him do. And by that time, he had developed his own one-man show, and he wanted to take it out to the world. So he started performing, small venues at first, and culminated over 20 years at MGM Grand in front of 10,000, Shackley distributors, and the $1 Million Round Table, which is like the biggest deal ever to speak and to perform. And that led to him being inducted into the Hall of Fame, the NSA, National Speakers Association Hall of Fame, second youngest ever inducted into that as a speaker. And then he had COVID and different things. He's reinvented himself a number of times. And so he had a very successful and has a very successful career speaking as an MC, entertaining. He's known for his comedy and his impersonations of great singers. He can essentially impersonate the entire rock and roll history, and over 100 voices. And yet during this last, and the pandemic was, devastating to the speaking and convention world. And obviously then he, was a part of the pandemic and saw the uncertainty involved with that. And through that process and watching the things that I was doing over the years with Cardio Miracle, a year ago, I asked him if he'd, do some consulting and help us on some things that we needed. And so he started helping us with Cardio Miracle, and then got converted to the juice. And so from that to the mission, and decided to be more involved. And so we brought him in essentially as president of the company a year ago. And then this last year, we had the opportunity to book and sponsor the Tucker Tour. So that was Glenn Beck and Tucker Carlson that we talked about earlier on one of your broadcasts. And then
that was so incredible being there and watching Jason. Jason, you did everything from your phone. Like I couldn't believe it. And it was just like seamless. It was awesome. It was some of the best entertainment I've ever seen.
Well, I wasn't there, but I saw Jason before, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
What you do, how you perform, it's incredible.
You guys came to the Hale Theater. So before that, in the summer, he did 2 weeks of the Hale Theater doing a Billy Joel, Elton John tribute with his comedy, and it was a blockbuster. And he's doing it again in April and May of this year. And so, but he's now fully immersed in the Cardio Miracle story, and I'll let him tell you a little bit about that experience that he had with Tucker Carlson that kind of led to a real change in his focus, kind of a real fork in the road, so to speak, as to his career and what he's doing.
Yeah, because the entertainment business usually it doesn't fit very well with like conservative values and family and all that kind of stuff. It's a whole different animal, right, Jason?
Yeah, and it's amazing to hear my own dad tell the story, because he's been there the whole time, obviously encouraging me. He could have been one of those parents that said, no, no, don't go that route. That's not a good idea. You won't survive. But instead he said, go all in, be the best. And he encouraged me and he opened doors for me. He really stuck his neck out, where a lot of opportunities came because of his willingness to share me with his big clients. That was a really big risk for him. And so I'm grateful for that, obviously. And it's now been 25 years that I've been doing this full time. And then just in the last few years, as I've consulted leaders and CEOs of companies coming in and looking at Cardio Miracle and realizing, oh my gosh, this is a life-changing product. And my dad came up with it. Like, what the heck? When did this happen? And obviously, I'd already taken that product and I loved it. But to be able to see him create something that was divinely inspired, no doubt, and to now take it to the world, it's been so fun to just be a part of this process. Obviously, I'm still trying to figure out if I'm helping or not. But I mean, it's fun to just be a part of it. And I'm thankful for the opportunity. So, yeah, we had the chance. You saw me at Hale Center Theater with a full band, and the full band is fun, right? We had the lights, the stage production, the sound, all the fun stuff. But then in reality, whenever I show up at an event, I have a cell phone and that's about it. And I have musical tracks on it that allow me, almost like a full-time karaoke singer, to press play on whatever the audience seems like they're enjoying. And so with the Tucker Tour, we sponsored that for Cardio Miracle. That was a huge investment. We sponsored simply one of the shows, and that was the Salt Lake City one with Glenn Beck as his guest. He had rotating guests in every city. But I think it was maybe the fourth show that they did on their tour. And as the tour director heard about, me from my dad, this was kind of an awkward situation because my dad was sponsoring it as Cardio Miracle, giving them a lot of money. And then he says, hey, by the way, you need my son to open the show.
I could just hear John doing that. I could just hear John doing that.
Who's your son? And he's like, well, he's the president of the company. And they're like, well, that's even worse. Like, you're not selling this well. We don't know if he's going to be good. And he goes, no, he's a world-class entertainer and a speaker. And they were like, this doesn't make any sense. Why would he be the president of a health company when, if he's so great, why isn't he doing that instead? So it was a weird conversation. And so I was being threatened as I went on stage to be good. And if I wasn't good, that there would be problems. But in front of an arena full of people, and I think it was probably 15 to 20,000 people. That for me is a comfortable space because that's what I've done for my whole career. So getting up there, I just did what I do. The audience loved it. They laughed, they clapped. I did some of the music of rock and roll and stuff that they'd enjoy, and then obviously closed it with God Bless the USA. And that was really, I think, the piece that the planners were thrilled with because they had never seen their audience stand and with their lights from their phones, a whole arena full. I mean, just think about the camera shot for them on a promo video opportunity, but also in terms of like bringing a whole arena of people together through music. It was very special. And obviously they didn't know that he can sing as well. He's the reason I can sing. And so they wouldn't let me bring him on stage. But what I can tell you is that it won them over so big that when we came off stage, they were embracing me, whereas before they were almost angry that I was there. And that's part of the power of music, patriotism, and bringing something that brings everyone together. And that whole arena was full of patriots. And so I went from comedy, which is what I do first, to open your heart, and then brought it home with the patriotism, which is the stuff that I love the most, to be able to say, I love being an American. I love God Bless the USA. I love my savior, and all of these things within that song is a beautiful piece. And so they invited me to then go and do all the other shows on the tour. It was a pretty wild experience to go from "We Don't Want You Here" to now I'm sitting on a private jet with Tucker Carlson going around
The thing I loved about it, having been, being there at that moment in the, what's it called now? Is it the Delta sub? No,
Delta's back to
Delta
the
Center. Or yeah, was how spontaneous it was as well, and it just seems so organic and beautiful, because some things are so staged, and usually comedy has some raunchiness to it. And I heard that even in some of Tucker's tours, some of the people they had weren't that great, like they didn't read the audience. In other words, they had their set stuff that usually involves things that most of us don't feel comfortable about. And yours was just, the people were just moved immediately. And it wasn't like, okay, the big sign saying, okay, everybody hold your phones up with your lights. It just happened. It just happened. It was awesome. So thank you for being prepared and ready. And John, thank you for being courageous enough to say, hey, here's my world-class entertaining son. Use him.
Well, I've done it for 20 some odd years, and every time I always said I open the door and he slams it shut behind me.
Yeah.
He delivers.
So how many
really is amazing.
How many tours, Jason, did you do after the Salt Lake one? Because they had, like you said, that was like the third or fourth one in, but they had many more after. So how many did you do?
Yeah, I think I did around 10 or 11, because the fact is I had already had other gigs booked as well for my own career and other things. And so
Yeah.
we in fact had a couple of obligations that made it so I couldn't be at the Megyn Kelly when she was a guest show, and a couple of others. But we kept those obligations. We had made promises to charitable events and other things through Cardio Miracle that were important to us. And even with the opportunity of being on a bigger stage, we wanted to keep the promise to those folks that we had made it to. And so, yeah, we had, it was a great tour, and it all culminated in the Donald Trump show. And as you know, the Madison Square Garden, New York City show had a very controversial comedian who opened named Tony Hinchcliffe, and he's known for ripping people apart and saying things that are really controversial. And that's his shtick. And I honor any artist that's willing to stand up and be that, gutsy. But then mine has conversely always been about family friendly, G-rated, Las Vegas quality, which is a very small niche. And so they asked me to come to Glendale, Arizona at the Desert Diamond Arena, 20,000 people on Halloween night. This is a few days before the election. And it was the last big public appearance of Trump before the whole country. And so they gave me 15 minutes. I went on stage, and while I was on stage, as the clock ticked down, they kept adding time because Trump was late, and they knew that I could handle it because we'd been on tour. So instead of doing the 15 they gave me, eventually I did 45 minutes. Man. and that's the power. That's the power of having this phone up there. So I can just kind of adjust as I go and wing it and swing something new for the audience. And the audience loved it. It was really fun to realize that there were people in the audience I didn't know were there, celebrities that were some of my heroes. Jordan Peterson was there, which is one of my mentors that I have never met, but just from afar. And so that was a really special event as well. And yeah, it was already interesting politically for me personally with all my liberal friends to be on the Tucker tour. That was already almost like a nail in the coffin, if you will, for my career. But then me endorsing Trump on that very last evening of this tour, that was, I lost gigs left and right. What I ought to do is come on and we should just have a full-on podcast or a discussion about all of that went on and how we can navigate perhaps through friendships, family issues, those types of things that really came forth because of it.
So like now we're hearing about Carrie Underwood and other artists that are going to perform, that they're already getting slammed by the left and the people, but you experienced that firsthand. How did just real quick, how did people notify you that they weren't going to need your services anymore. Because did they come right out and say it's because you're supporting Trump, or that you were on the Tucker tour, or how did that happen?
Yeah, in many ways. And he was in the middle of it. In fact, he and Janet, while we would go from location to location on the Tucker tour, I was watching my in terms of my career that I had built for 20 plus years as a corporate entertainer, corporate speaker. Now all of a sudden people are emailing, texting, and sending messages saying, because you're affiliated, we can't have you at our event, or because you're doing that, we can't be friends anymore, or because you're doing that. And obviously I'm devastated while I'm getting standing ovations and people are loving me, a whole new audience I've never been in front of before. And here's my dad and Janet mentoring me through this, like saying, you have to stand for something.
Yes.
Do you believe that this is the right path? Do you know that you are doing something that others are afraid to do? Guys, this was really tough for me to go through this process, but it was a hero's journey moment. And I'm so thankful to have this type of mentor in my life. And his wife, Janet, of course, has become such a wonderful person in my world as well, to be able to have both of them walking me through that. He gave me blessings. And I mean, it was a real concerning situation to watch essentially most of my income go away, because I wasn't getting money for this tour. I wasn't getting millions of dollars. We were getting trade to showcase this deliciousness for your body. And you have to truly believe in a mission in order to give up everything else.
Right.
And I was giving up something I had built for a long time. And I believe that God opens up our paths in ways that can be very painful. And I'm so thankful that I went there.
Wow, what an incredible. How about if you, I mean, you don't have to answer this, but any other like close family members give pushback? Was your wife stressed out? I mean, our wives are usually the ones that hold the family together and the glue, and they see the income leaving, and they're, you know, what, how, if you don't mind talking about that, how were other close family members dealing with all this?
Yeah, great question. My wife, what really was interesting is when I first did the Tucker and Glenn event, they had a VIP photo shoot that you could have prior. And he had paid for it. And everyone in our circle went and got the photo, and I made sure not to, because I said, this is career suicide for me even doing this show. If any of my peers find out, I'm in big trouble. And I didn't even get the photo with Glenn and Tucker. Like, that's how much it was for me. And Tammy, my wife, you know, we've always been right down the middle, because my dad is extremely conservative. Her family is different leaning, right? And so we've been down the middle with our friends, our family, and so forth. And what I find interesting is that as we went down this path, we started to realize, as she started to do more homework, my wife is very smart. She's very interested in knowing the issues now, but at the time she wasn't as much. Neither was I. We just kind of went with what we felt was in our gut. As we started to do the research, that's when we started to realize, oh, this is a big deal, that we make a choice, that we pick a side. We have to stand for something or fall for everything, that kind of a phrase. And so her family is more liberal, if you will. My family's extremely on the conservative side. That was a tough situation. While her family, you know, was feeding some things to us, and he's feeding some things to us. And we're trying to figure out, where do we weigh this? How does this balance come into play in harmony? I'm just thankful I have a wife that came along with me, and eventually she was like, this is the right side to be on. This is what we haven't done the homework for whatever reason. And she said, we are on the right side of history. She then taught our children the same thing, which they were getting everything from TikTok and Instagram that was just crazy. And it was been so awesome to watch her be fully bought in. And that obviously gave me strength, because I was like, if you're all in, you're smarter than me. I'm all in. And my dad's smarter than me. I'm all in. So it really helped to have the people that are closest to us, you know, get to that place, if that makes sense. But
it makes total sense. Yeah.
friends, yeah, man, most of my friends are on that liberal side. Most
Yeah.
of her family are on that liberal side. Can we still keep those connections? Yeah, but it's tricky, right? That Thanksgiving was coming. What do you do? What do you say? They know, here we show up with a Trump hat and they're sitting there like, what the heck? And but you know what I mean? I mean, in the
Yeah.
past, it was like they were sending text on our text stream, yay, Biden won, we're going to the White House, and they were so excited. Now we can't say that when our guy won. It's a very interesting, they say accept everybody, love everybody, but if we choose to say what we believe, then we're ousted.
It's a double
Yeah.
standard.
Totally.
That's what it
Yeah.
is.
And we love
Yeah.
I love my in-laws. I won the lottery with my in-laws, I'll be honest with you. It's just that little political thing. So yeah, it's been interesting. Did that answer it?
So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. So now a career path for you, I'm sure you want to continue to entertain any way you can and any gig you can get, because that's just in you. But you're also an ambassador and knowledgeable about Cardio Miracle and the benefits and everything about that. So tell me how that transition kind of happened, where you're an entertainer and now all of a sudden you're learning and promoting and educating people about nitric oxide and all the benefits of all this, and you're in touch with people like Judy Mikovich and I can't remember all the ones I met in Midway at that conference, which was so cool as well. And then you can add in anything that you want to on this. But how did that transition? And I know it's probably still going on, but are you still going to entertain? Or are you strictly Cardio
Tonight.
Miracle now?
He's doing it tonight in front of a who's who in Washington, D.C., including some major conservative corporate people that I believe he's going to see tremendous opportunities. He's already been invited to go with Tucker again on tour. They've already talked to him about perhaps going with Glenn Beck on tour. I mean, he's opened up some big doors. They're just some of the interim stuff didn't work out. And he also was invited to be potentially in the top speakers bureau in the world, one that no one from his other organization had ever been invited to. So he's had a lot of interesting things. They just haven't really materialized into revenue streams. So we take care of
a minor detail.
His revenue's getting by, but we're looking at big things, and with the Hale Theater, and then we're looking at the Ahern Hotel in Las Vegas and other things where he'll do maybe 2 weeks at a time, and at the same time then he can continue to do all the things that helps the Cardio Miracle corporate side, which he's extremely skilled in communicating and dealing with people, having done corporate and business entertaining and speaking for years. And he's a very quick study. He's very, very coachable, always has been. And so it's been good, but he can answer the rest.
That's a great question you ask. And that's what's interesting about this alignment, is that if you were to say, oh, here comes John Hewlett's son, who we've never heard of. I mean, I get the nepotism of that situation. That's tricky, right? And so what's nice is that I've made millions and done what I've done in my career as a solopreneur, employing people and helping make myself, into at least an entity of leadership. And so to be able to combine forces with somebody who's way smarter than me, has a product that's helped so many people, and to be able to come in and say, this is how I can help, this is what I bring, whether it's consulting and helping with team building and promise culture, or if it's also being a spokesperson for the product. And I am a product of the product. I take the product, I love it. I have found what works for me, which is the faster recovery when I work out. I mean, that alone is the reason to take it, is to say, I can work out harder, stronger, faster every day and never miss, because I'm not needing to have more recovery. There's something called a voice that is a singer and a speaker you absolutely need to be perfectly fresh at every gig. When I don't take my Cardio Miracle, I'm in trouble. When I do take it, my voice gets better quicker. I mean, there are different attributes of this product that make it so that it's a simple sell. I had leg surgery a couple of years ago with a violent injury, and Cardio Miracle sped up that whole process by about, I mean, it was cut not quite in half, but I'm telling you, in terms of the recovery, it was unbelievable to my physical therapist and surgeons. They're going, what are you using that's different than other people? I mean, it's kind of like an actual miracle. And that's why the words of Cardio Miracle work. So to align both of our powers, I mean, he's the visionary, he's the business guy, he's the one that can promote and sell and do that thing. I'm the one that comes in and helps run the team, helps get everyone in the right seat on the bus, and then equally can go out and stand in front of 30, 20, 50,000 people, perform and entertain, make them laugh. And I always talk about Cardio Miracle in that situation. Our hope is that this will just continue to be cyclical and making it so that everybody goes, wow, that's a nice alignment between father and son. And well, I mean, who wouldn't want to work with their dad? Especially, I mean, he's in his 70s. This is, as he's wrapping things up in his great life. We hope he's around for 20 more years. I'm in my 40s. Don't know how long I have. So why wouldn't you want to be with your dad as much as possible, right? I mean, it's a great thing. I'm so grateful that we have this opportunity together. So I hope that also kind of makes sense as to what my path is. And that's not to say I'm going to just perform for Cardio Miracle. I'm still taking gigs as they come, and they're not coming as much because people are thinking to themselves, well, he might stand on stage and talk about a political thing, which I'm not doing necessarily, but I am standing for something. And that's,
Faith and family,
I talk about God in my speech. I talk about family every time. It's always a family-friendly presentation, and people are wanting that. And hopefully the event planners start to realize that's true.
Ah, so good. So good. Do you have any comments, anything?
Yes. So my first comment is, I'm listening to you, Jason, and we love John and Janet so much, but I'm listening to you, and you're telling about the experience on stage and what you perform. And then all of a sudden, when you said that you performed that song, the
Bless the USA.
God bless the USA.
Yeah.
The feeling and the spirit that came upon me was that you are destined, and you were destined to do this and to be a testifier of what is of faith and of family and standing up. And we all have different understandings or beliefs because of our upbringing, our raising, our education of what a political issue should be. But when you stand for those things, Heavenly Father is going to be on your side. And that is what the world is craving right now.
Yeah.
It's craving, it's desiring, it's needing, it's loving. And when you said that, you could probably see me wiping away my tears, because the spirit that just enveloped me was so profound. And so thank you for standing up. In fact, it's so fun to be able to go somewhere, feel comfortable where you are, and laugh. There is nothing that brings people together better than laughter, and and that feeling of wholesomeness. And so that is what you have brought. And I really dare say that probably after being with Tucker and Glenn and all those other incredible people, they were probably like, what just hit us? They probably have not had that experience in their life very much. I know that they're good people. I'm not saying that they're not good people. Could you hand me a tissue, please? But think of them. Thank you. Sorry. But think of them being hit with that wholesomeness. They probably were like, wow, this is something that we have not felt probably forever, for maybe a long time, because of what they have experienced in their life. Anyway, so thank you. Can I just add my testimony of Cardio Miracle? So I went on I know this is no big deal. People are probably going, and I've heard a lot of people say, we've done a lot longer than you have, but I went on a 3-day fast and a 3-day water fast. And I had Cardio Miracle those 3 days. And I have to tell you,
Liquid fast.
a
Not just water.
3-day
Well, you had cardio.
Water
not
and
just water.
Cardio Miracle
Anyway,
fast.
sorry. Yeah.
We'll call it a 3-day Cardio Miracle fast, which
Yeah.
included water.
Yeah, that included water. Thank you.
it was a miracle. It was an absolute miracle because I felt great the whole time. The whole time. Yes, I was ready to eat after the 3 days were up, but I have to tell you, I felt great. And I wanted you to know that because of that, I really, my love for it has grown immensely, immensely. And one other thing, one day I get up early and I was scrolling through Instagram. That's my go-to place because it has a lot of health things on it. And I was looking at something and somebody was talking about moringa powder and how good moringa powder is for you. And I'd taken moringa hot chocolate to some family before, and my daughter-in-law actually introduced me to it. She goes, "Oh, I just get this hot chocolate, moringa hot chocolate." So anyway, I was looking at this moringa powder, and I went, okay, it has this and this and this and this and this in it. And so I went over and I grabbed the Cardio Miracle and I looked at it and I said, Cardio Miracle has this and this and this and this and this that moringa powder has in it. And the moringa tree or the moringa plant is called the tree of life. And I thought, isn't it so interesting that this product that I'm taking is the tree of life? It really is, because it brings your body into accordance with how it should be, that brings health. And I'm not saying that we'll live forever, but I'm saying that because of it, I feel stronger and better.
Dang,
and healthier.
That's pretty cool. And I feel the same way. I say amen.
She looks
Amen.
great. I love your hair, Sue. It's looking good. I
Oh,
love it. It's awesome. No, I do. It's looking really nice.
I just have to tell you, Jason, when you let your hair go gray, it tells people that you can make it through hard things and still live and still be a great person. You know, we don't have to look like we're 25 or even 20 or even 18, and we don't have to have the weight that we had then or the hair color or the facial structure. But man, when people can see us energized and ready to go and happy to be alive and look like this, they'll go, gosh, I wonder what their recipe is. And we'll say, we know, we have a recipe.
Okay, I have a thank you. That was just awesome. But I have a prediction. I don't want to say prophecy, okay, but I have a prediction for you, Jason, and John, really. But the next 4 years is a different environment than what we've had in having President Trump come in. We have seen people that are way left that are wanting to go down and visit in Florida with President Trump. We have huge corporations getting rid of DEI and all the woke stuff because they just see that it's not working. It's not working. And so my prediction is that you're going to see a very prosperous 4 years, an environment that will produce that for your entertainment and everything else you're doing. You're also an author of a book, which I haven't read it yet. I have to be straight up, but I have it, and I can't wait to read it. I have a long list of books that I'm trying to get through, but yours is one of them. Can you tell us the title of that? And do you have a copy of it in front of you? Mine is in the other room, but
I don't have a copy of it here, but it's called The Promise to the One. And the promise to the one is the promise to yourself. And
Yes.
yeah, so it's on Audible as well. If somebody said, I don't want to sit and read, you can just listen to me performing it. And what's fun about having a book is that it did launch at #1 on Amazon in the spiritual self-help category, which is a real one. And I'm very proud of the book. It turned out amazing. And it's really just sort of a life story mixed with the many promises I've broken, as well as how you can make and keep promises to yourself. I like to say, why set a goal when you can make a promise? And so what are your promises that are the sacred goals? And in turn, you guys, I appreciate so much even asking about that. We're writing his book right now and finally getting that out after many other ghost writers and people have tried. It's nice to be able to have father and son talking through his life story so that we can get it straight and right, because his story is, it'll be hard to fit into one book, obviously, but it's going to be spectacular and we're excited about it. So yeah, we have that.
Awesome. That is so good. Well, we have individuals like Russell Brand, even Tucker has come to faith. Tucker Carlson. You have Sean Ryan. You have individuals that just didn't have any kind of faith in Christ or any deity in their life, and there's a real awakening, and there's also a division, and you've seen it, you're experiencing it, and your books, your book, and your entertainment, and now your alignment with your father in this great venture of Cardio Miracle. This is amazing. It's really fun to chat and visit with you. Anything else anybody else wants to bring up before we wrap this up?
You know, I wanted to tell just one funny story from my past. Many years ago, probably over 50 years ago, there was a mile runner. His name was Billy Mills. He was a Native American. He grew up running barefoot, on the reservation, and then eventually went to college, and eventually became a competitor, and he qualified. I think he was like the last person to qualify for the Olympic Games. And in the Olympics, he came out of nowhere and he won the mile race. And if you watch the film, he came just like propelled out of the pack at the very end to win the race. And I think it was in Japan. And all the Japanese photographers were running around him and they're hugging him and congratulating him. And they all go, "Who are you?" They had no idea who he was because he was coming out of nowhere. Well, that other evening when Jason was performing in one of his venues, out of the shadows, I think it was in Dallas.
It was in Dallas.
Went to Dallas.
There was a comedian before me.
Very
was famous,
raunchy and terrible, and almost a lot of the people left. And Jason came off the stage, and a man leapt out of the shadows and threw his arms around him and said, "Who are you? Where did you come from?" And it was Glenn Beck. It was Glenn Beck who had been there that night, and he had not seen Jason perform in Salt Lake because they were back in the green room just prepping, and they kind of ignore the beginning of a thing. But he had sat and watched Kimberly Fletcher, who's the head of Moms for America, said to him in the VIP area, she says, "You've got to watch this guy." And the previous comedian was so bad, they were all going to leave. I mean, they were so raunchy. She said, "Please, you've got to stay." And then after Jason was done, Glenn was the one who came to Jason and basically threw his arms around him and said, "Oh my gosh, who are you?" And so we're thinking that's kind of fun. It's actually Kimberly Fletcher and Moms for America. 500,000 women, Sue, that aligned, that helped push this election. They and Turning Point, according to a lot of the insiders, Charlie Kirk's organization, were the ones that made the difference in Nevada, made the difference in Arizona, made the difference in Wisconsin, made the difference in Pennsylvania. It was moms. It was thousands and thousands of moms who were standing up for a change in this government. And Kimberly has actually asked me to be on her board of directors of Moms for America. And so that's why we're sponsoring part of this gala tonight. And we're going to be working with them. And so tonight will be a big night for Jason to be exposed again. But everywhere we've gone, from people who watched him, when we were in the taxi and the Uber down in Glendale after the Trump successful venue that he went from 20 minutes to 45 minutes without missing a beat. And literally in 2 different Ubers the next day, both the drivers said to us, well, we heard that the entertainer was better than the president last night. 2 different Uber drivers said, all people have been talking about all day in these taxis in our cars is about the entertainer last night. I said, well, I happen to know that guy. He happens to be my son. And they about drove off the freeway. They couldn't believe it. But that's what kind of an impact Jason had is, we figure over a couple 100,000 people heard about Cardio Miracle, heard about faith, family, and country from Jason as a spokesman. And so we were delighted to have that occur. And those seeds, we believe, have been planted, had a small amount to do with the enthusiasm of the people to go out and win this very, very critical election. And we hope, and it's interesting, as we're watching these nominees fighting their way through the Senate, how interesting that how those on the side of the aisle that seem to be so concerned about morality have always looked the other way of the immorality of their own leaders and people. But how interesting it is that they want to attack. Again, we all know that almost everyone is so flawed. We've all made our mistakes, some much more than others. But, this is a time to rejoice. It's a time to cling to our testimonies of faith and to be looking for spiritual miracles. And one of the great things this last year is that Jason and Janet and I literally together had unforetold multiple miracles that confirmed to him and to us that we're on the right path. And we're always mentioning to our people how grateful we are for Scott and Sue Palmer for being great advocates for Cardio Miracle, because lives are being changed and saved in so many ways, way beyond recovery and other things. Phone calls, people. I called customers the other day in Los Angeles in the fire area and said, is there anything we can do to help you? And one of them said, you've already done it. I had serious injection injury, and Pierre Corey of Frontline Doctors recommended Cardio Miracle, and I'm now doing better than I've ever done. So when you have those kinds of conversations, it makes you feel like this is important. It isn't just a soft drink or a nutritional product. It's life-altering. And what an honor for me to have my outstanding son standing in and propping me up and moving forward to help carry this mission forward, even in a more dramatic way than the past. But the whole mission is the gathering of the house of Israel, the saving of America, and doing our best to be able to lead our families in righteousness during perilous times. So thank you to the two of you for all you've done to help make that happen.
Thank you to the two of you.
Yeah, thank you. This has been a great conversation. We'll continue with Jason as John's going to be traveling, and we'll have a follow up and get into some more detail. Any last comments on your?
Well, I just think there is redemption in all things, and redemption in our health, redemption, in our personal lives with the people that we are associated with. And I think that, I don't mean to say this in a way that overpowers anything else, but really, truly, this Cardio Miracle is something that is so redemptive in our lives that really, truly can bring us, center us, bring us to truth, and help us understand and receive personal revelation. And that's what we all need. We all need that personal revelation here. And, you know, sometimes it's hard to stand up, but man, when we receive that revelation and we have a testimony of something, we have to do it or we will be
Suffer the
cut off.
consequences.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep. So
Well-
Jason, do you perform tonight then for the
Yeah.
Mothers of America? Is it?
Yep, performing for, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes. We'll see what they give me.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Where did the phrase come from? Break a leg? Like, I don't get that. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it's like wishing you well, but yet it's not.
I've been told that a million times. Don't know the origination, but I don't know if it's a matter of saying, you know, you need to go out there and give it your all.
Give it your all. Okay.
But it's always been a funny thing. And you know, when you think about it, when your health goes, when you have any challenge with your health, you can't think about anything else.
You can't.
I know.
That's all consuming. And so with Hope in a Glass, which is what Cardio Miracle is, then you can focus on the things that are most important. It's not so much, you know, trying to fix everything once it's happened, but for me, in my case, it's preventative. And so why not do your best to prevent the challenge from facing its, you know, from having to face it in the first place. So I'm just grateful that we have this opportunity together to help others. And you guys have been unbelievable advocates. I mean, it's so awesome what you have done to share it with your people. And thank you guys for being the missionaries for Cardio Miracle. Makes all the difference.
Well, Scott has his own personal story, you know, of a miracle from Cardio Miracle.
Yeah,
and
we've talked about it a lot, and you can't. I should say, not anybody else. I can just speak for myself, but I can't be fake about something just to promote, to get some money out of it or something. If I don't really believe in it, and if it didn't really work, I just can't.
You're not a yes man.
I'm not a yes man, and it gets me in trouble sometimes. But I just it worked. It just simply worked, and so it's been a great partnership, or I don't know what we call this.
Well, but we wanted to help what you're doing, to help so you wouldn't be censored by the powers that be that were censoring you and taking away any financial advantage. And that's why I said we would be delighted to be your sponsor and advocate.
Yeah.
Since you've got your experience and you believe in the product. That's all we're trying to do. We're trying to share where people want it to be shared. And the proof in the pudding, so to speak, another cliche, is in the hundreds and hundreds of people that follow your podcast who have had their own cardio miracles. And
They have.
They're the ones who advocated in addition to yours. So that's the fun part, is when people have those experiences. So thanks so much for having us.
All right. God bless.
I found it.
He found the break a leg.
The phrase break a leg originates from the theater world, where saying good luck is considered bad luck. So instead, actors wish each other break a leg as a way to ironically convey good luck for a performance. All right.
Break a leg.
Break a leg.
Break a leg tonight.
We'll be shaking a leg, and we'll see you later.
Okay. Love you guys. We'll see you. Bye-bye.
See ya.